flu happens. Here's another one, Irish Examiner. Now, this is the fourth witness. The Bible says out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, a thing is established. Well, this is our fourth witness. Again, more pictures from the actual 1918 Spanish flu. This is from the Irish Examiner, 05/29/03. That's the date. It is entitled, Vaccine, Not Virus, Responsible for the Spanish Flu. Quote, the Army doctors knew all these cases of disease and death were due to the vaccination and were honest enough to admit it in their medical reports. When Army doctors tried to suppress the symptoms of typhoid with a stronger vaccine, it caused a worse form of typhoid, paratyphoid. But when they concocted an even stronger vaccine to suppress that one, they created an even worse disease, Spanish flu. After the war, this was one of the vaccines used to protect a panic-stricken world from the soldiers returning from World War I battlefronts infected with dangerous diseases. The rest is history. 50 million people died worldwide. There's another picture of a, I guess a hospital or some building to have everybody quarantined. So the evidence strongly suggests that the Spanish flu of 1918 was actually created and then spread through vaccinations. But the panic-stricken public demanded a vaccination, not realizing that was the way in which the disease was actually spreading. And again, we've looked at 4 different witnesses, which have nothing to do with my opinion. But will history repeat itself? Well, it's ripe to repeat itself, as we've seen. Avian flu, this is from Leonard Horowitz, a MD. He wrote a book, has a video called Emerging Viruses, AIDS and Ebola, and among other things he's written. Avian flu fright, politically timed for global iatrogenocide. This is from this article. This is from 10/11/05. He says, quote, to make the human vaccine specific for the H5N1 mutant virus, you must start with the human virus which does not yet exist, meaning the human virus that's in the human-to-human spreadable pandemic virulent form. But they're telling us it doesn't exist. But he goes on to say, except perhaps in military, biomedical, pharmaceutical laboratories. In fact, this is precisely what is being prepared based on news reports. End of quote. Now again, that's another MD saying that. Okay, so in light of the information we just looked at and the previous information we looked at on how the Illuminati telegraphs their punches, let's look at this new movie release regarding the presentation that I'm putting up here. This is, as I said, an updated version, and these are some slides that I've inserted that are a little more timely than when I did a presentation back in 2006. This particular movie is called the Doomsday Movie. This just premiered on 3/14/08. There's an official picture regarding the movie. In this movie, the year is 2008, and a pandemic threatens to wipe out the whole of the human race. For many within the United Kingdom, the end is nigh. Now, I got this text straight from the actual description of the movie. Within days of the detection of the Reaper virus, kind of like the Grim Reaper, within days of the detection of the Reaper virus, millions are infected in Scotland, the killer disease's home turf. To contain the newly identified Reaper virus, the authorities brutally quarantine the country as it succumbs to fear and chaos. So again, is this what they're trying to telegraph to us? The government has no choice but to declare the country a, quote, hot zone and quarantine the populace in hopes of containing the Reaper's spread. What was once Scotland is now a forgotten no man's land, with the Reaper virus given free rein to annihilate the population sealed inside. Now, the next movie we're going to look at is the I Am Legend movie, starring Will Smith. This is a very, very big budget film that recently premiered here. And description of this movie would read as follows. After the outbreak of a lethal vaccine-induced virus. Now I inserted that part in because essentially at the start of the show they're interviewing this lady, and she has developed a cure for cancer that is 100% cure for cancer. They haven't had over 10,000 people that they've tried it on, not one didn't work on. And she describes it as a virus that, instead of being a bad guy virus, it's a good guy virus. She describes them as a good cop virus. And in the body, this has this wonderful effect on preventing cancer. in the movie, the virus itself mutates, and it is a mutation that mimics some kind of freak mutation of measles and rabies. And ultimately, it ends up wiping out most of the planet. I'll go back to this excerpt. It says, in 2012, so this is 3 years later, Army virologist Lieutenant Colonel Robert Neville is left as one of the last healthy humans on Earth. He is one of the few survivors of a biochemical virus induced initially via a cancer vaccine. For 3 years, Neville's been trying to discover a cure for this disease and to find out if any other people might have also survived. The vaccine virus has killed the vast majority of the planet and transformed all the remaining infected survivors into mutant victims of the plague. Again, what are they trying to telegraph to us here? You've got the vast majority of the planet wiped out. Now, from a biblical standpoint, that's not going to happen, but this is, again, a propaganda of fear and chaos and this type of thing. And this virus, which is initially going to be introduced through this wonderful vaccine, which is how basically all vaccines are presented, is going to essentially kill the vast majority of people on the planet. The ones that are infected and do live turn into these mutant creatures that are essentially like zombie/monsters. And then you have far less than 1% of the population left who are immune to this, and most of them are eaten by these mutants, and the small remaining few that survive are the ones that, supposedly the only hope for the planet. This just came out last month, 2/20/08 from ABC. U.S. involved in bird flu conspiracy, and this is from Indonesia. Jeff Thompson, this is the reporter from ABC, Indonesia's health minister has suggested that the United States may be involved in a conspiracy to use the bird flu virus to develop biological weapons. The extraordinary allegation is included in a new book endorsed by President, I don't even know how to say his name, but anyway, the President of Indonesia. So they're suggesting the United States may be involved in a conspiracy to use the bird flu virus to develop biological weapons. Indonesia's health minister, Dr. Supari, expresses alarm at the World Health Organization laboratory sharing bird flu virus data with the United States National Laboratory in Los Alamos, New Mexico, where nuclear weapons are developed. Quote, whether they use it to make a vaccine or develop chemical weapons would depend on the need and the interest of the U.S. government. It is a matter of choice whether to use the material for vaccines or biological weapon development. And that's what this Dr. Supari is saying. There's the link you can go to. Check it out for yourself. This is a quote from Lori Price at legitgov.org. It's entitled, DOD to augment civilian law during pandemic or bioterror attack. Quote, is Bush getting ready to play the bioterror card? If the GOP cannot steal an inevitable Democratic landslide in the November of 2008, and that's her opinion on the elections, she says, will the Bush regime continue its illegitimate rule and empire by implementing a full-blown police state in the aftermath of an avian flu pandemic or a Bush-engineered bioterror attack? There's the full link if you want to check that out further. Now, if we go into martial law before the end of Bush's term, guess what? He doesn't come out. All elections are suspended, and he gets to become dictator for however long he can maintain it. This is one of the reasons why this may go down very soon. Maybe not the only, but it could be one. Absolutely could be one. This is from the Washington Post. It was entitled, U.S. uses live bird flu viruses in vaccine experiment. This is from 12/18/05. In an isolation ward of Baltimore Hospital, up to 30 volunteers will participate this April in a bold experiment. A vaccine made with a live version of the most notorious bird flu will be sprayed into their noses.